was the subject of immense curiosity. She neither answered nor addressed a word to her neighbors. But the general opinion was that some unhappy passion for Filippo was the cause of this extraordinary conduct.
Champagne, please. I'm afraid we have not met. Or have we? Cheers.
He glanced downward at his glass.
You seem disquieted.
The wine is red. I thought there had been no red champagne.
There is none.
Then, this is... Excuse me, everyone. I must ask that you remove your masks.
What is the matter with you?
Please. Miss, will you kindly remove your mask?
His skin was chilled to the bone. It cannot be, he thought. The woman had the very shape, the aspect, even the very scent of Carmilla. And yet she was gone, slain by his own hand only 2 nights prior. He had seen the light escape her eyes. He had felt the impact of his blade into her breast. She was dead. Did the others know? Could they sense it?
Murderer.
Did he imagine that? Did he truly hear it?
Murderer! Murderer! Murderer!
Murderer! Murderer! It could not have been. The words could not have been spoken. No one could know. And yet, this woman, was she a ghost?
You must forgive my impertinence, but I'm afraid I must remove your mask.
His hand reached out. He felt the coarse fabric of the mask in his fingers, and then... Ah! Oh! 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 Oh!
My heart is about to burst. I nearly saw her visage in my mind.
Mask for Lord Byron. I'm so frightened I believe I won't be able to sleep alone tonight.
I heard that a small dose of laudanum can quiet any nightmare. I can do
And the largest dose gives you the most extraordinary adventure.
I hear that is how Coleridge writes his poems.
Coleridge is a boob.
Could you imagine seeing the dead bride, the blood not yet dry, oozing worms crawling from her eye sockets?
She was dead 2 days, my love.
It might have happened.
Is that truly how the story ended?
I may have amended it for dramatic effect.
Was it her? Was it the dead bride?
The subtitle of the book reads Ghost Stories, so I believe that might provide us a clue.
It was certainly a ghost. I would bet money on it, if I had any.
I prefer not to know. Mystery is at the heart of fear. I had little chills running up and down my spine the entire time, Lord Byron. I will need to be chained to my bed this evening.
Well, what you do in your own time is your business. I seek not to judge your relationship.
You are awful.
So I have heard. Besides, if there's anyone that needs to chain Percy to his bed, it be his wife. Where is she these days?
In London.
Right.
I shall like to read a ghost story. Hand me the book. Hand me the book.
Are you up for it?
I'm up for anything.
Truly, anything.
Watch yourself, Claire.
I hadn't realized I'd brought a nanny on the trip.
You must forgive John. As a physician by trade, he is chiefly concerned for the health of your body, as am I.
My goodness, shall this story be read or not?
Percy, you must enjoy a good seduction.
It's not a seduction when an antelope lies down in front of a lion and invites him to dinner.
Well, you think one or not, Claire? They all look terrifying. I don't know which one to choose.
The weather is frightful this evening.
Is it? Oh, I hadn't noticed with all the thunder and lightning.
I am just saying it is very stormy.
John, well, perhaps you are not well versed in the art of conversation. Allow me to instruct you.
When someone asks you for a weather report, that's when you provide it. None of us are deaf or blind. We are chiefly capable of determining whether it is stormy or not.
I apologize.
No. I thank you for mentioning the weather for the 11th time this evening. I was just sitting on the edge of my seat, just wondering what the weather was. Do you think we're stupid? I mean, is that the entire purpose of continuously mentioning the storm? Or are you under the apprehension that your commentary is fascinating? It isn't. Stop mentioning the damn storm.
It is good for the stories, yes?
Yes, it is. And Claire is taking much too long.
I believe it was my turn in any event.
Hand him the book. No!
Give him the book. I'm tired of watching you attempt to read.
I can read perfectly well, thank you.
None of us have any evidence of that.
Fine. But I must protest this treatment.
You can lodge your protest in private later.
Let's see. How about the gray room?
The gray room. That sounds perfectly dull. Gray isn't even an interesting color.
Gray isn't a color at all, in fact.
Thank you, John. I was just wondering that.
Go ahead, my love. I'm certain it will be terrifying.
I'm already trembling. Look.
Ooh.
Shut your mouth. It was late on a winter evening in his travels when Tobias reached his child's home. It had been many years since he had been home, and though his aging mother was overjoyed to see him, she was unprepared for the brief visit. For you see, though he had spent many years growing under his mother's care, the house they kept was dark and full of secrets. They spoke long into the night, and when it came time for him to finally lay down,
My son, I wish I could accommodate you more adequately. I have a boarder in your old room. You may take my chamber, and I shall lay on the floor.
Nonsense. You are old. I shall pass the time on the floor.
it was then that a servant interrupted.
Sir, there is one room in the house with a made-up bed. The gray room.
I would not have you stay in that room.
Why not?
In the gray room? Have you forgotten the ghost?
You really must be going senile, Mother. No ghost will do me any harm, for no ghost exists. I shall happily spend the night in the gray room.
You would have the heart? Well then, you have much changed.
I would not spend time in the gray room. There's clearly a ghost.
Why are you interrupting?
I am just failing to understand why this room is in the house. Why does it exist?
He went with the girl up 2 flights of stairs. The last room in this deserted wing was the gray room.
Your life is in your own hands, Tobias.
Tobias looked around. Everything was as it had used to be in the old gray mysterious room. Everything as it had been for the past 100 years. But older than anything was the castle girl, Gertrude, who did not sleep peacefully in her grave.
I am not afraid.
I'm sorry, I must pause here.
What? It's just getting interesting.
I'm frightened out of my wits already.
Well, that happened before he began the story.
I'm sorry, I have an excitable nature.
My tired with it,
It is somewhat indelicate,
as am I.
of course. I will have nightmares tonight, I assure you.
It had been said that Gertrude had sworn herself to God. She was, it was said, as kind as she was beautiful, about to take the veil of nunnery. His name was Graf Hugo. He wrote the gentle rose in this very room. Despite being raped, she did not become pregnant. She told the priest of her travail, and he shut the doors to the temple, saying she would suffer the agonies of purgatory for 300 years. She died in the grave room from a secretly taken poison at the age of 19.
I am not afraid.
Sleep took me.
Phantom! I mean you no harm. I have come to
His pulse went still. His strength left him as the words to absolve her died on his lips as she found him with her baleful eye. At that moment, a drop of poison fell from Gertrude's hand onto Tobias's face. There, a skeleton stood, the hideous shape of Count Hugo. It pulled the door shut behind him.
That might have been better than Lord Byron's tale.
Bravo, Mary. You were truly frightening. It must be your maudlin ideas that let you say such things.
This is why I left my wife.
Oh,
I must say, I'm brilliantly done. I'm sure John lost his wits all over again. What say you, John? Is it still stormy?
It is!
My friends, as long as the oh-so-interesting storm keeps us imprisoned in this house, I propose a contest. We each compose our own.
Our own what?
It is tiring knowing you.
Our own what? I don't know.
Our own ghost story.
Oh!
Tomorrow we shall frighten each other all over again. Supernatural occurrences encouraged.
I love it.
You'll write one, Claire.
Oh, no. I shall be the judge. Who shall frighten me the most?
And what shall this winner get?
The winner.
You said it was a contest.
That I did. Well, the winner gets whatever he wants.
Or she wants.
Oh, yes, certainly. But in my experience, women are full of horrors. Take my mother, for example. She once, tied a noose around her neck and waited for me to find her. Oh. Well, there's nothing as monstrous as an unfit mother, don't you think?
Would you like to let him sleep? Was he in good spirits this evening?
No need to whisper. He sleeps like a stone.
Oh, I suppose that is good. Is that good?
Little good, yeah. Maybe a little bad.
Why do you say bad?
Oh, a little bad.
Yes, but why?
Sometimes they don't wake up.
Oh.
But this one is strong. This one lives. You should see him eat. He's like a monster. Yes, you are.
Oh, I know.
As soon as he gets his teeth in, he's gonna try and eat me. I know it.
Oh, thank you, Elise.
Will you be needing me more tonight?
You may go to bed.
Thank you.
Elise?
Miss?
Are you certain he'll live?
Dear Mr. Shelley, I'm writing to you to inform you of the events transpiring at your home, even though that home exists in name only. I am with child. You may expect an addition to your family in the next few months. I confess that I am ambivalent about this newest creature, as you have shown precious little interest in the prior two. Should you wish to fulfill your husband's duties, I reside in the same house, in the same location, with the same crumbling roof. Your father, who I believe enjoys our current poverty, has declined all my entreaties for assistance. Soon I will be begging in the streets, which I suppose is the fitting place for the family of a great nobleman. The weather remains miserable, rain and gloom. There has not been a warm, sunny day all season. There's a profusion of toadstools behind the cottage house. I've not seen their like before. There are days when I hope they are filled with poison, and I might take some measure of peace by ingesting them. I would do it, except I have small children whom I love deeply, that I would then leave without a mother or father, seeing as you are so unfit for that role. I think of you sometimes, wherever you might be in Europe, with that slut and the other one. I hear she has borne you children as well, and the first one died not long after being born. Please send her my sympathies on the death of her child, and I hope this newest one is a delight to you, as your legitimate progeny are so disgusting to you. I've included a lock of Charles's hair so that you might remember him. If you do not, no matter, we shall be of no consequence soon. Your wife, Harriet Shelley.
I thought I might find you asleep.
I had thought to begin my ghost story, and I confess I'm a little traumatized by the entire ordeal.
Perhaps it is best to write during the daylight and read it at night.
Perhaps. Did you fall asleep in the nursery again?
For a moment.
I missed you the other night.
You should sleep as well. Not immortal. Not yet, anyway.
Harriet sent a letter.
No wonder you can't sleep. What bile is she spewing?
She's pregnant.
Why is that a concern of yours?
It might be a concern.
In what sense? In what sense?
Mary, where we were, in London, before we left for France, I saw her.
You saw her?
I wished to see my children, and I have never lied to you. I do not subscribe to the antiquated notion that one should
Spare me
have
the damned speech. You were with her in London.
I should explain
You were with her in London. When?
I suppose it would have been February.
February. When I was as round as a boulder with William, then that is when you saw her?
Yes.
When I could scarcely move.
I am sorry.
But you didn't wish to lie to me.
I am truly sorry. I had no intention of...
You are not sorry! You have no conception of what that word means. Damn it. Truly? You ran off with your wife when I was...
You make it sound sordid. I ran off with?
Quite right. That's what you did with me. You ran off with me and Claire, and yet somehow you keep running back to that bitch. Make up your damn mind.
Why? I don't hold a monopoly of your love, and you don't hold a monopoly of mine. Free love is what
It is never free for the woman. It is your freedom you wish, as if I was your jailer.
That is precisely what I do not want. An exclusive arrangement is inherently a transactional arrangement. I give you this, you give me that. It sows discord and resentment.
You're doing a fine job of sowing discord and resentment right now.
Mary!
You shit-tongued bastard! I was about to give birth to your son! Is it too much to expect that you keep yourself sheathed for a week or two?
Listen to yourself, you're being ridiculous.
And how are you certain that this brat is yours? Or that it even exists? And it's not some additional desperate ploy to force your return?
I don't know.
Will you go to her now?
I hadn't thought to.
Of course not.
Do you wish me to go to her?
Nothing is about what I wish. What I wish is meaningless to you.
Tell me what you want!
Love me! Stay with me.
I do love you. You are my everything. You are the dawn of my life.
Be a man. Divorce her.
My father would never allow it.
Convince him, Percy.
I'm sorry. I met with her.
Some poet. Say what the thing is so that it might have a name.
I was unfaithful to you.
With the mother of some of your children. How many more mothers are there, I wonder? I sound positively banal now. This is what you have reduced me to. Not an original thought in my mind. No wonder I haven't an idea for a story.
You will
Don't change the subject.
What more do you want? I have apologized. I have submitted myself to you. I shall see her if you wish it. I won't go if you don't.
I told you what I wanted.
And I cannot do it. Perhaps you're right. This child is not mine.
It doesn't matter. Don't you understand that? If you are married to her, then the child is yours. She has your name. I don't. William doesn't.
I have explained my position.
I don't care about your position. I am telling you the truth. If the consumption comes back and you are gone from us, we will be in the same position as Harriet. Is that what you want from every woman in your life?
No, it is not.
Then fix it. I dreamt of our daughter last night. She would have been nearly 2 now. Now a cold thing. Like the way a bird's corpse is so light that it feels like a shadow, so still. Should have named her Percy.
I know.
Some writers we are. Not even one word sufficient enough for our baby. There is nothing on her gravestone.
We could name her now.
And what would be the point of that, other than to assuage our guilt at her death?
Her death was not your fault.
Wasn't it?
Monsieur Lecomte waited in the other room. He heard noises outside. Scratch, scratch.
Is it a cat? Shh. That sounds like a cat. Perhaps a large cat.
It is not a cat. He had many heavy things on his heart that day.
Such as stones?
Lord Byron.
I'm sorry. With prose, I am forced to take things literally. It's a curse. Does this get interesting soon?
I assure you, it does.
Excellent! Will you wake me up when that part of the story arrives?
He had been a cruel man, and as he awaited the news of his latest conquest, the noise again, and as he turned, he saw a shadow pass over the keyhole.
Monsieur le Comte. Monsieur le Comte.
Oh, well, she appears to know his name. Surprising.
There was indeed a woman, or a semblance of a woman. For instead of a head, she had upon her shoulders a skull.
Is something about to happen?
Well, that's all I've got so far. I can't quite figure out what this woman is doing.
John, you are a physician, and be glad of it, for you have no future in letters.
I quite liked it.
What story were you listening to?
I think it's interesting. She has a skull for a head. Not many people would think of that.
Everyone has a skull for a head. It is what our heads are composed of.
You know what I mean.
No! My dear, I certainly do not know what you mean. Because my ears heard something along the lines of, this was interesting, which that could not possibly be true. As the story had no beginning, less middle, and an ending that resolved no questions other than whether or not John would ever be a writer.
Very well, I admit defeat. I attempted to come up with something original and
Failed utterly.
I would not put it so bluntly.
John, if there is anything that you are good at, it is being blunt. The story failed. You failed.
I suppose I did, Lord Byron. I do not share your talents, but let's not be cruel about it, shall we?
Life is too short to forego cruelty. Your turn, Shelley.
Oh, I need another day. Surely you've written something, Lord Byron.
I have, but, let's see what Mary has first.
I have no story yet.
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 I'll read mine then. This is admittedly a fragment.
You weren't able to finish in a night.
My dear, I have many gifts, but finishing early is not one of them. My dearest Catherine, it is with amazement and trepidation that I must write to you. I must recount my tale, and such as you must, with all of your heart, believe my words, for I fear they will appear impossible and strange to you. I do not wish to frighten you, but the world is darker and wilder than it seems. And if this letter gives you some weaponry to use against the cruel forces of this world, then I would have acquitted myself admirably. His name was Augustus Darvel, or is. For in truth, I do not know if the man in question is alive or dead, or if those categories hold any meaning for him. He was dead when I knew him and is alive now.
I require your companionship.
You do?
I am sailing home to Bulgaria. It is a long and terrible journey. I require a young man to accompany me on my way.
I accepted the charge, but when he spoke, I felt a chill in my blood. This man, Augustus, he was not...
Are you frightened? No? Excellent.
And though I tried to hide my revulsion at his presence, I knew he could sense it the way a dog might smell fear. When we made landfall, the old man would stay in his quarters during the day and only venture out at night.
I dislike the sun. It weakens the disposition.
Forgive me, for I watched him. And one night, when we landed, the old man stepped away from our boarding house and stalked into the woods like a wolf. Someone was waiting for him. I cannot say that they danced. I say they moved as one. They moved as if controlled by some invisible force, a thread that which connected their bodies. It was not lust, though it seemed that way outwardly. No. The word I would use to describe it was hunger!
Elise? Elise? Shh. Mama's here, Mama's here. Elise?
I'm so sorry. I fell asleep. I'm so sorry. Oh, he sounds hungry.
I thought he might be scared.
That's a different sort of crying. Again, I'm so sorry.
No, it's quite all right. I was less than successful this evening trying to, the muse is fickle. I shan't bore you with it. Once more into the breach. Might I stay?
Of course. He'll be asleep soon anyway.
Yes, I imagine he will.
The storm is terrible tonight.
Yes.
Are you all right, Mary? You seem...
It is late.
It is?
I shouldn't hound you. I heard him crying, so...
Of course.
My other baby I nursed myself. So with William we thought we ought to do it differently. Of course, it is difficult to travel with one so young as Percy and I have done. Yet when I hear his wails, it pains me not to be able to remedy the situation. Of course, perhaps it was my milk that was the cause of my last baby, so... I wish I shared your certainty.
Sometimes they die the way of the world and all that. No one can change it but God. Of course, I know you're one of those atheists.
I am. We are.
Where do they go then, I wonder, if there's no God and no heaven? Your little baby, what was her name? The one that died.
Oh, she was very small. The midwife said she had never seen one so small. She was red and grasping. Eyes shut tight. Her little hand wrapped around my finger like a watery tendril. I didn't... No one thought she would live long, so I gave her no name.
Did she live long? Madam.
3 weeks. More. 3.5. You know, if there were a God, I suppose he would know what she would be called. I fancy myself a writer. My husband, Percy, is a great poet, and yet we have no words sufficient enough for our baby.
This one's got a name.
He does. He has one. It's important. Vital, really, to give names to things, but I suppose I didn't want to name my impending sorrow. So I had hoped that not to speak its way name would somehow inure me from it. It did not, of course. Grief comes whether you give a name to things or not. I had begun to hope, you know, I had begun without hope that she would live, but little by little I began to conceive a future in which she lived, in which the three of us were a family. I declared that if she lived a month, I would name her. Perhaps it is my hopes that called down the fates. She died in the night. Went cold, and I was no longer a mother. I lost that name as well.
That was Adam's job, you know, to give names to things, but I suppose you don't believe in him, neither.
No.
Sad. There's so little to believe in.
I believe in quite a lot. Freedom, science, the primacy of the human intellect.
But when you look at a baby, don't you want to believe in God?
What I want has precious little bearing on what is.
Do you really think his little soul, if he died now, there'd be nothing, no evidence he ever existed, like a stump or a stone?
He'll live!
He might. I had a boy, not much older than this one, strong as a bull. Sometimes they don't wake up, even when you think they must. He's in heaven with God now. I asked the priest what happens to the babies who go to heaven. Are they babies forever, or do they grow up there? And if he grows up, how am I supposed to recognize him when I die? I suppose I'd like him to wait for me, but then again, what do the babies in heaven do without their mothers? If I had one wish for heaven, it would be for him to be a baby when I get there, so I can be his mother again. Teach him, watch him grow up. Maybe God would let me do that.
Maybe he will.
I suppose you're just saying that. Your science isn't much use to the dead. Now, is it?
I don't suppose God is much use either.
Someday we'll live again. Science can't do that.
Not yet. But what man can learn is a daily revelation. I have attended lectures in London of natural philosophy, where it appears that they are near to solving the mystery of life. Whence does it originate? How might it be rekindled?
Impossible.
I've seen it! A dead arm, immobile in all aspects, with an electric current run through it. It animates as if possessed by life before going dead once again.
Might a person be brought back that way?
Perhaps.
But if there's no soul, then what would come back?
This work is by no means sealed, so forgive me if certain elements aren't quite in place.
Have you already begun the caveats?
No caveats.
Proceed. I am interested to hear this tale.
Very well then. My work contains life and death itself, that is to say, the structure and genesis of creation. Suppose a man, possessed with terrible and limitless knowledge, was to learn the creation of life.
Are you speaking of alchemy?
No, not at all. Galvanism. Science! The man is Victor Frankenstein.
So much has been done. More, far more will I achieve. Treading in the paths already marked, I will pioneer a new way, explore unknown places, and uncover to the world the deepest mysteries of creation.
He set about building a man of gigantic stature, 8 feet in height. He dabbles amongst the unhallowed damps of the grave, digging up bones from charnel houses and disturbs with profane fingers the secrets of the human frame. His eyes, growing mad with profane excursions, begin to bulge from their sockets. But the man in front of him, bit by bit, bone by bone, muscles and tissues will taut over the framework beneath. He began to take shape in front of him. His creation, his child. Oh, nightmares plague him. He withdraws from life, toiling only in his monstrous creation. Other men might have settled for a modest experiment, but no, not Frankenstein. The creation of life itself was his only goal.
It was on a dreary night of November that I beheld the accomplishment of my toils. It was already 1 in the morning, and the rain pattered dismally against the panes, and my candle was nearly burnt out. Beautiful! You were supposed to be beautiful!
How to describe the creature? The yellow skin scarcely covered the work of muscles and arteries beneath. His hair of lustrous black, his teeth of pearly whiteness.
What have I done?
Frankenstein runs! He cannot bear to look upon his hideous progeny. He wishes for his creation to die, and for a moment he thinks to take a bludgeon and destroy it. But he cannot, and he runs, hoping that the flickering ember of life within inside the monster would somehow die without his presence. He falls in his bed, his mind troubled with dark dreams.
Mother?
But it was her corpse that he held! A shroud enveloped her form, gray worms crawling in and out of the folds of her flannel. And our hero falls into a deep and terrible sleep.
You live!
Truly exceptional, my lord.
I thought to add more.
You must! What happens to this creature? What does it do after it murders its parents?
Marvelous, Mary. My blood ran cold.
Thank you.
What are we to call it?
The monster?
Does it have a name?
I thought to add. Of course not.
You there!
It's a person.
When you read this letter, I shall no more be an inhabitant of this miserable world.
You fish her out. No, you fish her out.
My dear Percy, if you had never left me, I might have lived. But as it is, I freely forgive you, and may you have all the happiness which you deprived me of. God bless you all, is the last wish of the poor unfortunate Harriet Shelley.
Streetwalker, by the look of her.
I'll get the constable. And what shall your story be, I wonder?
I've had my fill of ghost stories. They're all the same in any event. A woman dies. A woman is dishonored and dies. Slain by the men she loved.
I suppose I should have to include a dead girl in my story as well, then.
I suppose so.
Or are you all right? You seem troubled.
Just thinking of your tale.
What of it?
Just... we need to be more careful of the monsters we create.
Come to bed.